Hello and welcome everybody today to this session that is going to be very interesting and very enlightening, I must say, with today's special guest, Shri Prithviraj Chavanji, who is the ex-Chief Minister of Maharashtra. Chavanji graduated from BITS Pilani as a mechanical engineer and holds a master's degree in engineering from the University of California at Berkeley. He worked with the US aerospace industry for 3 years. After returning to India, he founded a research company before joining politics full time. His experience in Maharashtra politics and national politics is well known to all of us. Shri Chavanji was the Chief Minister of Maharashtra from November 2010 to September 2014. Earlier, he was the Minister of State from the Prime Minister's office from 2004 to 2010. He was concurrently the Minister of State for Personnel and Parliamentary Affairs. In 2009, he was additionally appointed as India's Science and Technology Minister. He was also a member of the Atomic Energy Commission and Space Commission for 6 years. Shri Chavan has had a legislative career spanning 27 years. He was first elected to Lok Sabha in 1991. He was re-elected in 96 and 98. In 2002 and 2008, he was elected to the Rajya Sabha and continued to be an MP in 2010. Later, after becoming the Chief Minister, he was elected to the Maharashtra State Legislature in 2011 and he continues to be a member of the State Legislative Assembly. Welcome, sir, today for being with us in this session where we are going to be talking about the future of Maharashtra 2030. The floor is all yours, sir. So please unmute yourself. Sir, you're on mute. You'll have to unmute yourself. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Manpreet. Thank you for inviting me and giving me an opportunity to interact with your members. Your theme of future of Maharashtra next 10 years, next decade, is very interesting and timely because we are virtually at the crossroads today, coming out of COVID crisis, hopefully, and also coming out of the economic damage that COVID has caused us. Maharashtra has handled COVID, I think, reasonably well. I mean, the final judgment of whether we could have done something different, we'll have to await. But I think now we're all looking forward to the union budget tomorrow and the forthcoming budget of the Maharashtra Assembly after about a month. And how does the Indian economy restart? And how does the state economy restart? And when will we be able to come back to pre-pandemic levels of our GDP? And what will be the outcome of our GDP growth rate this year, and the projection for next year occupies all of us. In Maharashtra, as you know, is a fairly large state, second largest population and second or third largest area. Only thing is, Maharashtra is geographically very diverse. In agriculture, only 18% of our land is irrigated as compared to about 95% in Punjab. And so our agriculture is not able to provide enough employment for all our people. And therefore it's imperative for Maharashtra to grow our manufacturing sector and services sector. Services sector in India is going reasonably well, but there are concerns about growth in our manufacturing sector or industry sector. Our manufacturing contribution of our manufacturing sector to our national economy today stands at about 16-17%, and every successive government from the time of Dr. Manmohan Singh has set an objective of reaching our manufacturing contribution to the Indian economy to about 25%. Maharashtra must obviously also have a similar aim and objective. We are the most industrialized state, and we are also the financial capital of the country. Mumbai was the financial capital of the country. I'm not very sure whether we continue to be the financial capital of the country today, with what is happening, the competition from Ahmedabad, the competition of national capital territory. So these rankings apart, it is imperative for Maharashtra to grow at a very rapid rate to create employment for all its people. And it's also important that we shift people from agriculture to industry and services sector as soon as possible. Unfortunately, I have grave concerns of late about our ability to attract industrial investment into Maharashtra. And let me at the outset first flag my concerns, and then we together will have to find how to reverse the trend. I'll give 2-3 examples. Maharashtra has been the most industrialized state so far, but will we continue to be that? And are you continuing to attract quality manufacturing investment in our state? Is a big challenge. As I said, I'll give you 2-3 examples of what worries me. Recently, as of 1st of April 2020, the Ministry of IT and Information Technology launched a new scheme called Production Link Incentives, or PLI scheme. Initially, for attracting foreign investment and large companies to come and invest in India in the field of manufacturing mobile phones, laptops, tablet, and other advanced electronic equipment. The scheme had a built-in incentive about 6% on incremental production every year. And that's why it was called a production linked investment scheme. Applications opened up on 1st of April 2020. Many companies, international and Indian companies, applied for incentives and approval under PLI scheme. After a period of 2-3 months, after the evaluation process was over, the result announced, and 16 companies were shortlisted by Government of India for manufacturing high-tech like mobile phones and out of those 16 industries which is outlisted, not one industry has chosen Maharashtra. All others have gone to states like Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Bangalore, Karnataka, even Noida, UP. There have companies gone to Haryana, they've gone to Rajasthan and to Gujarat, but not Maharashtra. The incentive package is of 41,000 crores in the first range. Why people did not opt for Maharashtra calls for a deep introspection. Pune region used to be called Automotive Hub of India, but we saw many prospective automakers wanting to come to India did not come to Maharashtra. The General Motors investment in Talegaon is in doldrums because Chinese company, and Chinese company may not continue the employment of all General Motors employees. Recently, Government of Maharashtra announced Magnetic Maharashtra third phase MOU signing ceremony. About 61 industries signed up for Magnetic Maharashtra 3 with an investment of over 2 lakh crore rupees. There again, well, this was an initiative by Maharashtra government for investment in Maharashtra. So the MOU proposals are from investment in Maharashtra, but here again, the lopsidedness of Maharashtra's industrial development becomes apparent when we see that out of 61, there are only 2 proposals which are going to be proposing investment in Amaravati division, 0 proposal in the Nagpur division, and about 59 proposals in the rest of Maharashtra, mostly in Pune. In fact, in Maharashtra, in a lopsided way. Whether all the MOUs signed in the third Magnetic Maharashtra will actually fructify, we don't know. We don't know what happened to the MOUs that were signed in Make in India program or Magnetic India program, first one, second one. Signing MOUs in large number makes us feel good. But when that investment doesn't happen, we need to ask what went wrong, where were we short, why did the investment go to some other state. Recently, to give another example, Tesla, which has been wanting to come to India for a long time, announced that they would be setting up a e-vehicle facility in Bangalore. Again, Maharashtra lost out. A latecomer in PRI scheme, Megatron of Taiwan, a major contract manufacturer for Apple phones, has tied up with Tata Electronics and they opted for Tamil Nadu. It's an investment of almost 4,000 crores, with 25% coming from Megatron and 25% coming from Tata Electronics. Also, a major investment from Ola into e-mobile vehicle space has also gone to Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Karnataka area. So, why is in the picture of automobile industry, e-vehicles are going not to the automotive hub of Pune, but why are they opting out of Maharashtra and going to other states? These are serious questions we must ponder. Why has suddenly Maharashtra become unattractive? Has it become unattractive? Is it a lack of effort from the government of Maharashtra officials? What are the incentives that foreign investment want and we are not ready to give them? All this calls for a serious introspection. Manufacturing sector is important for growth of any country. Millions and millions of youth which are joining the labor market mostly are from rural areas and do not have very high qualification to enter services sector. The only hope is to get into manufacturing sector with an ITI qualification. And if IT industry is at a saturation point because of the uncertainty about the technology in use in future, a lot of people are moving to battery-driven e-vehicles. Will Maharashtra do well in electronic mobility as we did reasonably well in fossil fuel-driven internal combustion engine technology? If you look at the trends of Tesla, of Ola, Megatron, which are all opting out, it worries me. I think we require much more proactive industrial investment policy. We cannot sit on our laurels. We cannot say that Maharashtra is the most industrialized state and all industrial investment automatically come to Maharashtra. It will not. And so we must all put our heads together to see what more incentives do we need to offer. Maharashtra also lagged in the ease of doing business index, which Union Industry Minister launched a few years back. We kept on slipping from number 8 position to 10, 11, 13. Even the index, which replaced the original ease of doing business, also shows Maharashtra at number 13. Now, being at number 13 obviously means that there are 12 other more attractive destinations. And foreign investors are opting for those other more attractive destinations. Maharashtra has a great potential. It has a huge pool of human resources, large land areas, and although we are generally water scarce state, there are areas where there's plenty of water, or water can be lifted from large reservoirs nearby to where they need. We have good infrastructure, road, rail, and that is being constantly upgraded. And with such huge pool of human resources, why are we not able to attract manufacturing investment, quality manufacturing investment in Maharashtra? That must occupy our time to come. It's not enough to say that Maharashtra has got a huge potential. How will that potential be converted to actual spade in the ground, actual investment? Because one of the top priorities the state faces in future is to create quality jobs for these millions who are coming out of high schools and colleges. Agriculture, as I said, cannot continue to sustain a large population. Particularly, it will not be able to sustain and keep educated graduate youths coming out of colleges, and they have to be provided opportunities in the urban conglomerates, urban areas, urban megapolises, and that's where communication skills, knowledge of English becomes important. The rural people, unfortunately, are not well endowed with those skills, and only hope for them is to join some manufacturing activity. But if manufacturing activity shrinks and no new investment is coming in, then we have a serious problems about finding jobs for our rural youth. One of the reasons why Maharashtra setting industry in Maharashtra is unattractive is the electricity issue. And yes, solar energy could be a solution, particularly certain districts have large tracts of land where we can set up large or medium-sized solar units, even up to between 10 to 50 megawatt, and thereby bring down the cost of electricity so that it becomes affordable. We also have a large wind program, but ultimately power that is available and power that is affordable is absolutely essential for industrial growth of Maharashtra. At the same time, the purchasing power will come from rural economy. And therefore, Maharashtra agriculture has also got to become highly efficient and has to become more remunerative and be able to provide quality jobs for millions who are coming out of colleges. I think COVID situation has thrown all calculations of the gear. State will have to borrow heavily, so has the union government, and therefore our ability to spend on other sectors, including the constraint. Okay. So I think with these initial remarks, I would like to join any conversation or questions. If anyone has any questions, and I think
we've received a lot of questions, and I think your guidance and your ability to put it across actually in implementation is going to be the main spotlight for today. So I would like to start with a few questions that we have received offline, and they pertain to various sectors. So one of the questions that we received is for industry, especially. You already highlighted how the problems of the migration of industries or new projects not coming into the state of Maharashtra. What we see is one of the major reasons is, you rightly pointed out, is the cost of electricity. Now, as you mentioned, we are a large country, we are a demographic country, but some states are able to offer it at very low rates of 4 to 4.5 rupees, whereas the industries in Maharashtra are anything upwards of 10 rupees. So that is a substantial difference as compared to neighboring states. So how can the state of Maharashtra, our state, overcome this difficulty and ensure that we retain the tag of the most industrial state?
can I answer now? Yeah.
Yes, please.
Well, obviously, our electricity tariff is very high, and that causes a great disincentive to those new industries which want to come in India. Solar could be an answer, but it will require large investment. Better technologies are making solar cells more efficient, and therefore, with more efficient cells, the area required per megawatt is also reduced proportionately. And I think attempts are being made to set up large solar power plants. We are also going into a major electricity water pumping program with solar cells for agriculture sector. I think it is, although we have set up huge ambitious target for solar generation, it will take its time to implement all that we are set out to do. But solar would play a very important role in Maharashtra. Other than that, there is not too much of opportunity to reduce our cost of electricity, because cost of generating electricity from other sources is quite high, and we have to use all the sources that we have, so the average tariff comes to slightly closer to what you said does. Many other states have kept their tariff low, and they compete with us on tariff alone. So I think electricity challenge will have to be met by putting more installed capacity. Recently, government of Maharashtra has come up with a area clearance scheme, where any public institutions such as the Gram Panchayat or the Mahila Bachat Ghat or a similar organization, if they help the MSEDCL, the power distribution company of state, then they will get a huge incentive out of the bills collected. As a matter of fact, what Maharashtra government has done is it has clearly waived off 50% electricity bills and the penal interest and other charges. This has been waived off completely. And of the remaining 70-odd%, half of it goes towards cost of purchase of electricity by the state electricity boards, the MSEDCL, and remaining half is flowed back into the economy to respective villages in order to build power infrastructure in that village. So I think a lot of huge backlog of electricity charges will be now cleared with this kind of a electricity tariff mitigation scheme or whatever scheme to make sure that power becomes available at a solar rate. I think the nuclear power generation projects, I think, have not come to a standstill, primarily for two reasons. There are certain safety issues with the French design and even other countries' designs. And the cost of tariff out of a nuclear power generating plant has become quite high, and it has overtaken the electricity generation for other sources like coal, thermal, and solar energy, of course. So we look forward to a future where energy costs come down and industry becomes more competitive.
Thank you, sir. So while we are on the topic of energy, we also have a question from Mr. Rajan Thaukar, who's running a business from Nagpur. So his question is with respect to Vidarbha and Chandrapur, which has got such a huge potential for solar energy, and why we are not able to exploit it to the extent that states like Gujarat and Rajasthan are doing.
Well, the districts you mentioned, Gadchiroli, Chandrapur, have a huge, strong sunlight. But solar energy is also ideal for decentralized power generation. That is, you consume the solar electricity that is created through solar cells in a very short distance, so that huge transmission lines and respective transmission losses are not there. In Chandrapur and Nagpur area, there is not adequate manufacturing infrastructure in place, and so that's why demand for industrial energy is not that high. Obviously, there are power plants which generate electricity, the mining areas generate coal from the underground, but the regular manufacturing industry has not taken off in Vidarbha, as an example which I gave from the Magnetic Maharashtra 3 program. Not one industry out of 61 has opted for Nagpur division. It's also important for leaders in the Nagpur division to analyze why this is happening, why people do not find a beautiful city like Nagpur attractive to do business in. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have Dr. Saroj with us. Dr. Saroj, would you like to ask your question? She is PhD Economics. Ma'am, please unmute yourself, ask your question.
No, I think Manpreet, I put it on the chat, so I wouldn't remember exactly what it was. Do you want me to open that and read it out from there? Can't hear you. Hello?
I'll just read it out. We have it with us. So Dr. Saroja is asking, how can Maharashtra be made a model state? Whether a comprehensive plan is required? Is there anything in place? And as far as she understands, with so many committees, constant meetings and discussions, the problem is still at the implementation level. And how can that be ensured? This question is from Dr. Saroja.
Yeah, as you know, if you look at the national analysis from the Ministry of Program Implementation and Planning, there are hundreds and hundreds of large projects which are languishing and not completed. There have been some projects which are languishing for more than 20 years, for whatever reasons. Sometimes the reason is land acquisition, sometimes the reason is Adivasi land, sometimes the reason is there is encroachment, and it's very difficult to remove encroachment. All that we've seen, but overall, we'll have to have an overall strategy for overall strategy for holistic growth of the state. And I think plans are afoot at the state government level to make sure that we achieve the objective of rapid industrialization.
Thank you, sir. So our next question is very interesting. When we talk about the future, we've received a question saying that the Hyperloop was tried out or is being tried out in the state of Maharashtra. Do you think that transports like Hyperloop will become a practical reality within the next 3 years for mass transport? And how does Maharashtra stand to gain?
Well, there is a pilot project being tried up in Pune, but in principle, I'm not very much excited by project like Hyperloop. It's a elitist project. It's in too much of infancy, and I think these experiments should be tried out by Western economies which have got surplus resources to invest. Maharashtra is a capital-starved state, and these futuristic projects, I think, are best left to more advanced economies. I think the Hyperloop project has not been proven anywhere yet. It's a concept on paper. It will work sooner than later, but I don't think we should put our eggs in the basket of hoping that Hyperloop will connect all the cities and the distances will disappear. I think that's a very future dream. I think we've got a much more realistic ambition in moving to e-mobility. Hyperloop, and even bullet. I'm of course also opposing the bullet train project fully, because first of all, the location of Mumbai, Ahmedabad is wrong. It's a political choice and not an economic choice. And the Hyperloop also, I think, is a technology demonstrated at best. Actual utilization and for mass rapid transit are many, many years in future. But I think let's await the results of Western countries which try to do that. There's an experimental project in California. And Dubai is experimenting. Let them do it. I think there's nothing wrong with our experimenting also. Government is willing to put in money. Apparently, Maharashtra previous government has committed to spend some money for Hyperloop project in Pune. But I think under no circumstances will that be a priority for me.
Understood, sir. So we have another very interesting question. Maharashtra is blessed with such a huge and beautiful coastline, but we also find that not many, as compared to say European countries or South American countries, we've not been able to develop these into tourist attractions, or we have such amazing forts. We've not been able to tap the potential, the tourist potential of these places, the cultural potential of these places. How can the government of Maharashtra help people who are interested in these projects to come out with these things?
Well, I think Maharashtra has a tremendous tourism potential, particularly the 720 kilometer long coastline of Maharashtra can be developed into a beach tourism, water sports, adventure sports tourism facility. We have, of course, unique ports, unique forts based in sea in that region there. And I think a more holistic tourism policy without any restrictions for foreigners to come in and enjoy our coastline, enjoy our facilities should be encouraged. I would, for example, scrap all the liquor licensing laws and even beef ban laws completely. And we must welcome the tourists with open arms and develop tourism facilities along the entire Maharashtra coast. I think the Maharashtra coast has almost exactly the same potential as Goa has. Goa attracts so many foreign tourists and so many Indian tourists. Maharashtra doesn't even get a very small fraction of that. But with the new Sindhudurg airport coming up, and many 5-star projects online, I think beach tourism will take a large leap forward in a very short time. But I think all the restrictive anti-tourism laws should be scrapped forthwith.
Thank you, sir. We have a question from Shri Bharat Agarwal ji. Bharat ji, can you introduce yourself and then ask a question?
Sir, good afternoon. This is Bharat Agarwal from Khandesh Industrial Development Association. Sir, you have been very energetic, sir. I would like to specify one example of your office. When you are a CM, we had got some issue in Akola. The Akola Association or Industrialist Mail. It was a call from your office at around in the night of 12 o'clock. And in the morning, the land issue for energy, MSCDCL issue of land and MIDC was resolved. And we were able to start, got energy available in our area. So I would like to thank you, sir, for this. And sir, there are 2-3 issues. Sir, you have told about the EODB, ease of doing business. Sir, naturally we take 42 days for getting electricity in EODB. Government of Maharashtra has taken n number of steps. They have reduced the permissions to 2, means 2 documents, and you will get electricity in 7 days. But it has not been implemented in the whole of Maharashtra. They are demanding X number of documents, and young entrepreneurs are not able to get the electricity within 42 days also. It is same. Means we are ranking at a very high level now. Sir, you have accepted it, but can we have something to improve this? There is one exit policy needed for Maharashtra. There are unproductive assets lying with each district in Maharashtra. And these unproductive assets, if they are converted into productive assets, there will be land available. Now, land is also an issue for a young entrepreneur. They cannot start their unit or they cannot get a land available. So they are facing this problem, young entrepreneurs. MIDC area is being encroached by some encroachers like some tin huts and all these. These issues also should be addressed. And the other issue is of energy, sir. Energy, it has been discussed, but I am taking one suggestion for you. Sir, 2 rupees unit, if energy is being subsidized by the government of Maharashtra, we naturally think that the production cost by other states we can compete, and the GST will be raised and state will benefit. We are of the opinion that state should also benefit and industry should also benefit. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your comments about my office when I was minister. I think all will have to work very hard towards industrializing Maharashtra and removing bottlenecks, whether they're bureaucratic bottlenecks, whether political bottlenecks, whether the central government issues, there are environmental issues and all that. Because my concern is, it is not possible for government, any government, whether it's central government or the state governments, to create all the jobs for our educated unemployed people who are coming out of colleges and schools. Jobs will have to be provided by private sector, and we must help, that is, government must facilitate and help the private sector to set up new industries and to create jobs. Because obviously government cannot create all the jobs. The whole attitude of creating difficulties for industry under whatever reason, guise, rules, whatever, that has to be very sharply reduced and ended. And I think we must take a monthly review of each MIDC industrial estate and other non-MIDC industrial estate as to whether, and there should be reporting from the estate manager back to Mumbai, as to what was the increase in the production capacity or actual production output from your industrial area, what was the number of people employed plus or minus each month, and all other parameters which indicate a growth of industry in that area. If that area is not growing, if new people are not coming in there, no investment is not coming, the blame has also got to be shared by the managers of the industrial area, the state managers, the MIDC and others, and ultimately industries department. We must make sure that the atmosphere in our industrial area is very, very conducive. There are no industrial issues at all. And therefore, people will find a particular area of MIDC industrial estate to be hospitable, to be prone to making profits, and therefore potentially more and more people can be employed there. This requires a concerted effort. And I'm sure if you all work with a sense of purpose, we can achieve that. Questions, guys?
Sir, we will share these questions with you.
Yeah.
We'll be taking last 3 questions. I'm sure you are also, sir, spending too much time with us. Thank you so much. So we have one question from Vinayak Raghoji. Vinayakji, can you please take your question? Hello. Chintanji, can you ask a question, please?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Manpreet-ji. Good afternoon, sir. This is Chintan Oza. I would like to know if we are planning to implement blockchain for energy sector for trading of energy generated by various sources like solar, wind, and our traditional sources. So I would like to know if we are planning, and if at all, then would be happy to conduct a pilot with the help of state government.
Of course, we will welcome any form of energy production, whether conventional, non-conventional, renewable. We are making big investments in solar energy. And as the efficiency of solar cells goes up further and further, there will be commensurate increase in our megawattage of solar energy. There's a limitation beyond which you cannot increase your hydroelectric process because there are issues about submergence and there are not too many options available, river valley projects. So, and we tried to get into a big way in atomic energy. Manmohan Singh was Prime Minister and I was in his ministry there. We resolved many issues. We got an Indo-US nuclear agreement worked out so that we allowed trade in nuclear materials because we don't have enough uranium. We were allowed the trade of nuclear materials and we buy some reactors from other countries. But unfortunately, with the falling cost of solar energy, the cost of nuclear power is becoming prohibitively high. And that has now become, nuclear energy has gone into back burner. But I think we should keep all our options open. Whatever suits at a particular given time, which we pushed. But of course, we'll have to keep in mind the pollution creating potential of each type of energy. So that's why clean renewable energy sources will be welcome. And that's what we're working on in the country, at the national level and at the state level.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Have a great day ahead. Thank you.
Okay.
Vinayak Ragho, can we have your question, please? And after that, Rajiv Bhatia ji. I think Vinayak ji is not available. Rajiv ji, would you like to ask a question?
Good afternoon. My question is a little away from industry and commerce. It's to do with our living in the metro cities, Mumbai, Pune, etc. And one of the impediments, because very often impediments are caused by ill-drafted out laws, and this is really to do with cooperative housing societies, 97th Amendment of 2013. So if I may request that if you may speak with Vishwajit Kadam, I will send a mail across and send some pointers where efficiencies can be created by improving the draft of the laws, particularly related to maintenance charges, etc. The problem is that there is constant infighting that is going on, and that really weakens, community connect. So if you could please look into this, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think there are issues about bureaucratic wrangling in resolving many of the customers' problems. But that is what I mean by when I say overall bureaucratic mindset to help industry win. Because ultimately only industries can create high quality jobs, and unless we create enough jobs in industrial sector, the future of the state remains bleak because we cannot continue to prosper only with an agro economy. But that requires enlightened attitude of the bureaucracy, the political system, There is a change happening, but it's not happening as fast as some other states have done. So we in Maharashtra will have to move aggressively in the direction of making the bureaucratic interface with new industrial enterprises much more user-friendly, much more investment-friendly than it is today.
Thank you, sir. We have a question from Praveen ji. Praveen ji, would you like to ask your question?
Thank you.
Praveen Kulkarni ji.
Thank you. Sahib, we have our company KK Nesar Projects Limited has signed MOUs at investor summits at Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand, and we have got solar tariff from them considerable. It's over 4.5 rupees for the 2 pilots, 5 megawatt per taluka. So this I wish to implement and illustrate in Maharashtra in 15 talukas of your choice through your foundation, wherein there is not much of burden to the government, even though the tariff is high. There is a way, because already government is giving a lot of subsidies in solar sector and agriculture sector, but that is only going indirectly. Directly, people are not getting the jobs. So I would like to take it to 15 talukas of your choice through your foundation, and let's illustrate so that Maharashtra can have in each of the taluka, and this will attract $43 billion because India has 7,000 taluka places, and in each taluka we can create minimum of 100 jobs for the unskilled farmers or school dropouts. I wish to hear your views on the same.
Is there some problem?
Sir, can you hear us?
No, some problem.
Shall I repeat?
Just quickly, some parts I didn't hear. Some.
Sahib, the 5 megawatt solar glass greenhouse. Glass greenhouse has a solar panel on the roof, and inside we do the high-tech horticulture so that the land below the PV panel is not wasted. It is typical European way of doing high-tech horticulture, wherein the horticulture graduates and the unskilled farmers both get employed in each of the taluka. So this is a very, very innovative model which we have already signed MOUs with state governments.
And I would like the question now. I'm linked up. You see, point is that's a good idea without a doubt that a greenhouse can be solar rooftop, but investments will naturally be very high.
Yes.
And, see, solar energy cannot be grid connected easily, and therefore for decentralized power generation and for the type of greenhouse that you're talking about, it's a viable project. We should try it out in various high solar regions of our state and see the impact. So there's a double benefit. We have energy as well as we have greenhouse agriculture where you can produce fruits and vegetables and other exotic plant varieties. And we also get energy over and above using energy requirement for the greenhouse for keeping the appropriate temperature can be exported to the grid. But one will have to study the overall cost implication of such a project, cost viability.
2 projects are being done in 2 states, and this is very cost effective compared to the grants which government is already wasting. The government is already giving more than 17 crores per megawatt.
No, I mean, that's not correct. I mean, it's not 17 crore per megawatt, but yes, subsidies are being given, which are now being withdrawn as the solar prices fall. But I think the 2 projects that you mentioned will let us see with the success ratio and the longevity of the projects, and then they can be replicated.
Ramiji, if you can forward to us the detailed proposal, we can send it to Sir's office and for study.
Sure. Thank you.
Sir, we'll have a last question by Vinayak ji. Vinayak Raghoji, can you please ask your question? Sir, please unmute yourself. We can't hear you, sir. Your mic is off. Technical issue.
I'm okay. I can't hear.
And even we can't hear Vinayak ji. Vinayak ji, there's some problem with your audio, I think.
time on a neat question focus.
Okay. Okay, so we'll take a last question. One question from my side. Is it possible to have a desalination plant on the coastline of Maharashtra and we take a pipeline to Vidarbha?
No, I think let's not. The two projects, desalination itself is a fairly expensive process. It has been tried experimentally in various of our island states like Lakshadweep and others. And even Chennai has got a desalination plant. It has been very effectively used in Gulf countries and Israel because the energy cost there is very, very low. In our country, when energy costs are high, we don't have ample of petroleum resources, desalination becomes an expensive proposition. But desalination works best when there is no transportation involved. For example, in Gujarat coast and others, where there's a not a very fertile land there, but there's a plenty of coastline. So clean water can be created and it can be used nearby, not at a long distances, because long distances will involve pumping costs and becomes unviable again. So I think, yes, desalination itself for drinking water purposes, for some limited agriculture purposes can be considered. It is expensive, but it can be made viable by mass production. But I would take the desalinated water through a great distance because that involves a huge cost and that may not be viable at all. Or we have demonstrated technology, different technologies have been developed by Minister of Earth Sciences and Minister of Science and Technology. So technology is available, but to scale it up is a challenge. If you can do that, then desalination will become a definitely technology of choice in desert areas and coastal areas do not have fresh drinking water sources.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for interacting with all of us today. It's been our pleasure and honor to have you with us. And it's really thankful to your office and your valuable time for coming and interacting with people and listening to all of us, the people from the state of Maharashtra. I'm sure today your talk has inspired all of us, and we will ensure that even agriculture grows in the state of Maharashtra. You very rightly pointed out that we are just 18% irrigated, and looking at the potential that we have in talukas and districts like Wada and all these places, we have 128 vegetables that are grown which we have never even seen in our lives. These are today's so-called power foods. So we would like to see those on international shelves, and we as industry would love to do our part. We will love to set up manufacturing units, revive the old units, and to see that our state once again regains the title of the most industrial state of the country. Thank you once again, sir. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you.